Hey there guys, welcome back. Hope we're all doing well. This is Chetan here from Double Cube and I'm back again today with another cool tutorial. This is going to be in After Effects and we're going to be learning to create an animated typeface in After Effects without any plugins or scripts. Basic tools and techniques to create an amazing effect. So let's take a look at what we're going to be creating and get started. Alright guys, so here I am in After Effects and I'm using the CC 2018 version, the latest version of After Effects. I'm yet to check out all the new things that they've added to After Effects, but that's not related to the topic anyways. So this is the entire project. Right, so let's analyze how we're going to start this. Now, so as you can see, we start off with a small stroke right there. And you can see it jumping up and we have 3 layers that come along with these lines. And after that it kind of tilts to the left and to the right, left, right, and then we have these 3 coming in, and then the last letter R, and then finish off with with the line and then a simple burst, right? Okay, so let's get started. So I'm going to create a new composition and I'm going to call this tutorial comp. I'm going to set this to just 1280 by 720 because I don't want a big composition. 3 frames per second and 3 seconds. Oh, we can make this 5 seconds long. That's completely up to you, and click on OK. So one important thing that as a designer you need to know is getting your terminology right. Now the words Nexa, the words typograph, the text Gotham, Bebas, they are called as typeface. They are not called as fonts. Google it. They are not called as fonts. And the word typeface is what these are. Now the different weights to these fonts, such as light, italic, black, bold, these are called as the fonts. So people usually call the typefaces as fonts. I mean, that's okay, but as a designer, you need to get your terminology right. So that's why we're going to be creating an animated typeface and not an animated font. Even if you Google it, if you type animated typeface, you're going to get everything. Anyways, so I'm going to go and create a new text object. So layer new text and press the letter R. Now the reason I chose the letter R is because it has straights, it has slants, and it also has a curve. So whichever letter you plan to animate, you can definitely try that out. Use the same concept or maybe give you an idea of how to animate it. Okay, so I'm using the font Gotham Bold, and what you want to do is once you have your letter in position, you want to right click and choose create shapes from text. And we can take the letter R and then hit delete. So we just have a shape. You can no longer edit this, so make sure you get your correct letter before you start animating it. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call this backup. Okay, because we're going to be using multiple instances of this. So I'm going to hide this and make a copy by pressing Ctrl D, and I'm going to call this vertical line. All right, and turn this back on. Now, I don't want all this. I just need a vertical line. So I'm going to start deleting the anchor point. So I'm going to get my anchor point tool. And what I can do is I can go and to the delete vertex tool and then just start cutting off all these parts that I do not want. Or you can actually go and select it using the selection tool and then just hit delete. Okay, delete. We can select these 3, hit delete. All right, we can select delete, and if you want, we can take this letter up, this anchor point, and then just move it up. We can zoom in. Oops. All right, and then just there we go. I think that's looking much better. Hold down shift and the slash key to fit into screen. So there you go, we have a single vertical line. Make sure that you also have your backup because it's very important. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a new rectangle. Make sure you're not selecting anything on the layer. So into this, create a small rectangle like so. And I'm going to go call this mask. And then I'm going to go to my track matte. If you don't have this, you can click on this button. It says toggle switches and modes until you get track matte and choose alpha matte. Now what that does is it's basically like a clipping mask. If you have used Photoshop or Illustrator, it's basically that. So it's just basically masks. Now if I go ahead and select my mask and I move it up and down, you see it's masking. and that's what we want. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of keyframes to get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to my mask, press P on my keyboard to get the position tool. I'm going to go 20 frames forward. So hold down shift and press the page down button 2 times to go 20 frames, and click on the stopwatch and make sure you press P on your keyboard to get the position properties. And then we can come back to the beginning of the timeline, and then we can just go hold down shift so that it moves down vertically, and it goes back down like so. We can select these 2 keyframes, select them, right click, go to keyframe assistant and choose easy ease, and then we can come here to the graph editor. We can select this and just move this out, and if you play this, you see we have this nice animation. Beautiful. There you go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy by pressing Ctrl D. Let's actually delete that. Let's actually change the color. So I'm going to go back into my main composition. Okay, let me just copy everything, and then we can copy, and let's come to this, press Ctrl V to paste, and let's just copy the color data. So I'm going to go into this mask over here, and the vertical line, and then go to the fill, and then just pick this color. You can note down the values if you want. It's E57C04, and then we're going to make a copy by pressing Ctrl D, which is going to duplicate it, so that's going to be mask 2. And let's select the vertical line, and then we can choose the second color, which is FAA300. Select these 2, make a copy by pressing Ctrl D again, and this time we're going to go and change the color of this to a yellow color, that is FFE100. Click on OK. We can delete the rest of this. Let's just delete that. So we have only this. All right. Now we're going to offset this off by 5 frames. So I'm going to select the vertical 2 to the mask 3 and press page down 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can move this over. Hold down shift so that the layer snaps to the timeline. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. And then we can select these 2 and then just move them over. So let's take a look at what we have. There you go. I think I'm going to go and move these 25 frames forward. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can move this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can move this and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Move this and probably 6 frames forward. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's much better. All right. Okay, that's looking way better. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to select all these 3, go to layer and choose pre-compose, and I'm going to call this vertical line animation and click on OK. Cool, I'm going to hide this now. Let's go to a backup layer and make a copy by pressing Ctrl D this time. And let's just call this curve. Okay, and let's go again to our selection tool so we can select all the points. And then we can, so this time we need only the curve. So I'm going to start get rid of all these points. Okay, and I'm going to select the move tool, select this. Let's zoom in a little bit more closer, and then just move this over till we kind of get a very good line like so. There we go, and press A again to get the move tool. If you're not able to select it, you can come down, go to the contents, go to the letter, and then you can choose the path. All right, there you go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, and there is a anchor point, so I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to come here and choose the convert vertex tool, and when I click on that, it's going to give me tangents to that. Okay, let's go back to our move tool. So let's zoom in a little bit more closer, and there you go. This is straight, and I think that's looking pretty decent. Not quite. All right, and there we go. Okay, we have this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and create another mask. This time I'm going to turn on this vertical line animation so I can see it better, and then make sure you have the curve selected. Make sure you don't have anything selected, my bad. Create a rectangle, select the rectangle tool, and create a mask like so. We kind of want to give it a little bit of space. Tell you why. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call this mask again. Whoops. mask. There we go. And we're going to bring this down. We're going to hide the vertical line animation for now. We don't need that. And let's go and set this to an alpha matte. Okay, but now we can see only this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to alpha inverted matte. Okay, and we can see that. The other side. So let's take a look at when this animation stops to start. So somewhere around here, around 20 frames, we can start the animation for the curve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go come here to my curve, press P to get the position, click on the stopwatch to create a keyframe, move 25 frames forward, and then we're going to create another keyframe, and we're going to come back to the first keyframe. You can press J on your keyboard to snap to the first keyframe, and then you can select all this and then just move it out like so, right? There we go. But obviously we can see this part. So to fix that, we can just select the mask, just move it over like so, right? There we go. And it's completely hidden. Then if you see the animation, you see that's what we get. We can select these two, right click, keyframe assistant, choose easy ease. Then we come here to the graph editor, select this keyframe, and then move this over to the left, right? There you go. And once we easy ease this, we want to add in a little bit of a bouncing effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back 10 frames back, and I'm going to overshoot this a little bit like so. Okay, it's overshot a bit, and then go 1 2 3 4 5 frames forward, and then shoot it inwards a little bit, so we get this bouncing animation. Let's take a look. All right, now this is too slow, so I'm going to make the entire animation to 20 frames. So I'm going to select all this and move this over to the inside. There we go. Maybe we can move these keyframes a little bit more closer, not too close. All right, so just play around with the keyframes until you get the right timing. All right, there you go. That looks much better. So we're done with this animation. All we got to do is make copies by pressing Ctrl D and Ctrl D. And let's change the color. I'm going to pause the video and come back, and then, where the colors changed. Okay, now I've changed the colors. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frames forward. Oh, we can actually go to this part. Okay. And then we can trim all this. So press the Alt and the left square bracket key to snap that into place. Okay, and 1 2 3 4 5 6, we can select all these 4 layers, move to the front, 1 2 3 4 5 6 page down, and we can select these two and move this over to the left. Okay, and let's check it out. There we go. Okay, that's looking way better. That's looking much better, actually. Pretty cool. Okay, so the next thing we can do is we can select all this, Control Shift C. We can call this curve animation, and then we're going to make a copy of this backup again, and we're going to call this slant, and turn this back on, and we can turn on these layers for now. And let's go ahead and get rid of a couple of anchor points. So go to my pen tool, and then we can go to my selection tool, double click, and we can start deleting all the points. So just go ahead, delete, and delete. Okay, so let's turn this back on and see what we get. Right, it looks awesome. So let's take a look at when we want this animation to start. So somewhere around 1 frame, 1 second and 10 frames. Okay, so press P on your keyboard to get the position properties, create a keyframe, go 25 frames forward, and then create another keyframe by clicking on this button. Press J to come back to your original keyframe, and then you can select this and move this over to the right, like so. There you go. Now another thing that you want to do is when you come here to this keyframe, you want to create a keyframe on an option called as the path. Okay, there we go. And press J to come back to your previous keyframe, which is over here, and just create a selection around these, and then just move them over to the right, like so. So what actually happens is it kind of gives that wiping kind of an effect. It's a pretty cool effect and I really like it. So we can select these two, right click, keyframe assistant, choose easy ease, and then we can go to the graph editor, select these two, and then just create a super smooth animation. Let's try that out. And there you go. It looks so good. Now, obviously we see this part of the animation, which we do not want. So let's go ahead and create a mask. I'm going to create a mask here. Oh, make sure you don't select anything. Okay, come over here. Okay, and then we can call this obviously mask. All right, bring this on the bottom. Alpha matte. Oh, sorry, we want this to be alpha inverted matte. And ta-da, there you go. And now obviously I'm going to go duplicate this a couple of times. Let's shrink this first. And duplicate it 1 2 3 4 5 6. Move this over like so, 1 2 3 4 5 6, and move this over here. And then I'm gonna go pause the video, change the color quick, and get back. All right, let's take a look. Okay, much better. But if you want, I think I'm gonna set this to 4 frames and not 6 frames, because I want the animation to be a little bit more faster. Okay, and that is looking super sweet. Okay, so now let's go and select the C, press Ctrl+Shift+C to pre-compose and call this slant animation. There we go, boom. So now I'm gonna select these 3 compositions, make a copy by pressing, pre-compose this, and let's call this animation. There we go, we have all our animations. Now let's add a little bit of effect and enhancement to this. I'm going to come here to the pan behind tool or press Y on your keyboard, and I'm going to click on the anchor point for the composition and put it on the bottom left corner like so. And then I'm going to go to my effects and presets, and I'm going to choose in an animation called as wiggle, and I'm going to choose rotation. Just double click on that. Ooh, sorry. Select the animation composition and then choose rotation, and there you go. I'm going to set the wiggle speed to 2, and the wiggle amount also to 2. Okay, so what actually happens is if I play this, you see it's kind of like a wiggling, rotation, dancing animation. Somewhere over here around 215, I'm going to set a keyframe on the wiggle amount and press U to show my keyframes. Come here, let's say somewhere over here, and then set the wiggle amount to 2 as well, create another keyframe. And on this one, the second keyframe, I'm just going to double click to get the property and set it to 0. All right, so basically the wiggle slowly stops. Okay, so select these two, right click, keyframe assistant, choose easy ease, come into my graph editor, and then just, you know, give it a curve so it gradually stops the animation. All right, we can even move this to 1 second if you want. All right, there you go. It looks much better. Another thing we can do is press P to get the position properties. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to, let's say around 15 frames. And I'm going to go ahead and create a keyframe on the position properties. And come here to the beginning and just bring this down by holding down Shift and your down arrow keys. And then we can go to, let's say 10 frames, right? And move this up a little bit and down. So let's press right click, keyframe assistant, and choose easy ease. So let's check that out. So as you can see, we get this kind of a jumping animation, which is pretty nice. I'm going to go and probably move this over to the side like so. Let's check it out. There you go. It looks so good. All right, much better. So now, as you can see, we are going to go and create the stroke animation that happens. So what do we do that for that? So let's go ahead and press Ctrl D on our backup, and we're going to call this stroke, and turn this on. And I'm going to click on the fill and set that to none. And let's go to the stroke and add in a stroke color, solid color. And let's choose the color. We want the color of this to be this color. Okay, so let's just see what this is about. Okay, there you go. This is what we have. Now I'm going to come here to my stroke press the down arrow key, go to this add option and choose an option called as trim paths. Okay, you can click on this button which says toggle mask and shape if you want to see only the outline. And if I come down to the trim paths properties and if I reduce the start and the stop, you see this is kind of what we get. Now I'm going to go to the R and I'm going to get rid of the first mask, which is basically that, because we don't need that. And then we can kind of check this out. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, I'm going to go and move this offset like so to somewhere over here. At this part, this is where I want the animation to start, and I'm going to set the end to 0 and the start to 0 as well. Okay, so the start is starting over here, so I'm going to move this over like so, 100 for the start and 100 for the end, and we're going to start decreasing this. Okay, so there you go. So I'm going to press a keyframe on this on the end property, a couple of frames. Let's turn our animation layer on, and I want the animation to end over somewhere over here. And let's go and reduce this like so, and we can right click keyframe assistant and choose easy ease. Now we do have an issue because the rotation is happening not on the stroke. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the stroke, press Ctrl X to cut it, get into my animation comp and press Ctrl V and put it at the put it on the top. You know, let's put it on the top. All right, so let's check it out. Okay, and we're going to start these animations let's say around 5 frames forward. So we start only with the stroke. All right, let's give it some curve. And let's move this to 10 frames forward. Oh, let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's try it to 15 frames forward. Or maybe even 20 frames forward. I think that's a good idea. Let's try that out. Okay, and over here what we can do is we can, you know, just trim it by pressing Alt and the right square bracket key, and it kind of just disappears. Or we can set it to over here when the yellow line animation stops and move this over to the right. Let's check this out. Okay, yeah, that's much better actually. There you go. So that's true. Let's see what else is next. These lines, we can do that a little bit later. Okay, we have this white stroke around the entire object. Okay, so let's do that. So let's select my backup tool, make a copy by pressing Ctrl C and Ctrl V to paste it. And this is going to be outer stroke. Let's turn it on. Let's again get rid of the fill and the stroke. We'll set it to white and boom. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down, go to my add, and I'm going to choose an option called as trim paths. Where is trim paths? Okay, and another option called as offset path. Okay, so when you click on offset path, you see it kind of offsets the path a little bit. I'm going to delete the first mask because we do not want that. And on the merge path, oh, it's not merge path, we want the offset path. Let's just increase the amount to 15, so it's kind of on the outside. And now animating this is completely up to you as to how you want it. So I'm going to click on the trim path. Now if I move the start and the end, you see we get this kind of this is not what we want. So rather what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the offset path and move that on top of the trim path, and now we can see only that. Okay, so I'm going to move my offset to somewhere over here. So this is where my animation is going to start, and I'm going to go to the start, and yeah, this is what we kind of want. Okay, let's make a keyframe over here. So as you can see in the main animation, it kind of starts when the slant is going to start moving. So let's go to that part, so over here, and then move this keyframe over here, and then let's go back to this somewhere where the animation ends. Let's say 3 seconds, and set the start to 0. So there we go. So another thing we can do is we can also go and keyframe the end part. So let's keyframe the end, and let's move this somewhere over here, and let's come over here, and this is going to be at 0. Okay, so let's check it out. Okay, that was pretty wacky. So I'm gonna select this, right click, keyframe assistant, and choose easy ease. Coming to the graph editor, we can select these two and then just smooth them over slightly, not completely to the left. Awesome. So let's check it out in our main tutorial composition. Awesome. That's pretty good. Okay, there we go. Now another thing that I did was add this particle burst effect. Now I'm not going to show you how to do that because there are a ton of tutorials. All you got to do is just position it at the right time and boom, explode. Now what I'm going to show you is these speed lines. So let's go to our animation. We can actually go into our tutorial composition. Let's go and create a, like a pen tool with a pen tool. We'll create a line with a pen tool and then just create a line like so. Okay, now this is 10 pixels. I'm going to set this to 5 for the size, and let's go change the color of this to a red color. Okay, so we can see some good amount of contrast, and then and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this a speedline 1. Come down, go to my add and choose a trim paths over here. Okay, and okay, we're gonna come here to the beginning. Let's see where this animation kind of starts. Okay, let's create a keyframe on the start and the end. So my end is going to be my start is going to be 100 and my end is going to be 100 as well. And we can go forward. So I don't know, let's see, 15 frames, 1 2 3 4 5, and we can reduce the end of this over here and also the start. So these two keyframes are at 100 and these two keyframes are at 0, and we are going to go and offset these like so. Let's check it out. There we go. So I'm going to right click, keyframe, right click, keyframe assistant, choose easy ease, come into the graph editor, select these two and then just move this over. There you go. That's much better. And all I got to do is make a copy by pressing Ctrl D, go to the color, set that to white, and I can select these two. And this one, I can just move this over to the bottom like so. And we can even offset it a couple of frames. So like that. Let's actually go select these two and move them into the animation composition as well. So we get the rotation on that too. And then all we got to do is select these two speed lines, press Ctrl D to duplicate them, press Ctrl R and rotate them 90 degrees. So it happens at the side, and we can select these two and then move them down. And we want to put this where the letter R starts. So somewhere over here, and then move this over to the side. Let's try that out. Okay, a little bit more earlier. And boom, there we go. That's our animation. And all we got to do to finish this up is press Ctrl Y to create a new layer. Let's call this BG. And we can change the color of this. So let's change this to a dark blue color. And now to add in motion blur. Now I'm going to use a plugin called as Real Smart Motion Blur, which is called RSMB. It's by a company called as Revision. But if you don't have that, you can use the inbuilt motion blur. All you got to do is go to all the layers that have the animation and click on this, which adds motion blur to everything. Make sure everything has motion blur, even the inside layers, everything, and come here to the tutorial composition and click on this button which says enable motion blur for all the layers. Do that in every pre-comp and you are good to go. As you can see the motion blur over here. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it on how to create an animated typeface in Adobe After Effects. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to mention in the comment section down below. Click on the like button, subscribe to my channel for more amazing content. I've got insane tutorials coming soon. You guys won't believe that. And thanks again so much, and I'll see you guys in my next video. So till then, take care and bye-bye.